Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saber as part of Gauntlet Hangouts. This stream, as always, is presented by You Don't Meet in an Inn, an actual play podcast about exploring obscure tabletop role-playing games with a rotating cast. I am your host and GM for this evening, Austin Ramsey. You can find me and You Don't Meet in an Inn on Twitter at NotAnIn. My pronouns are he, him. And you can find Saber and any of my other game design work at austin-ramsey.itch.io. This morning, or I guess afternoon now by my time zone, I'm joined by Greg.
Hi everyone, I'm Greg Gelder. I also use he, him pronouns. I don't have anything to plug. I'm just excited to play Saber and do some mech smashy goodness.
That's great. Thank you very much. Also with us is Jason.
Hello, I'm Jason, at Jason Yoakum if you want to find me online. Not sure why you'd want to, but the only thing I would like to plug, if you ever want to come by my hometown, I've run a local story game group. We've got a really good community here. It's called Story Games Columbus. So you can find us at Story Games CBUS. Thank you.
Awesome. Also with us is Raji.
Hey, I'm Raji, he, him pronouns. Excited to play Saber for the first time. I've got a Forged in the Dark game with myself. It's about an interstellar survival competition. It's at rajibrazil.itch.io. I'll drop a link in the chat.
That's great. Thank you. Also with us is Robert.
Hey, Robert Angus, he, him pronouns also. You can find me on Twitter at @TheRobertAngus, because I'm also from Ohio, and so we have to put "the" in front of stuff just randomly. And I'm really excited to see Saber.
Great to have you. And last but not least, Darren.
Hi, yes, it's true. That's my name, Darren. I'm also writing a mech game. It's not Forged in the Dark, though, so it's quite different. You can find out more about that at agonysonggames.itch.io.
Wonderful. Thank you all for being here. So, we have done our character creation for the most part beforehand. There's a couple things we have to do before we get into the mission. We need to quickly go through the squad and also do our beliefs with each other. So let's start off by introducing our characters. Greg, why don't you introduce your character?
Sure. I'll be playing Malcolm Lake, who also uses he, him pronouns. He goes by callsign Gold. He is a previous criminal. He's sort of haggard, disheveled. I don't know what the Twitch overlay thing looks like, but we shared some photos beforehand. He is heavily augmented. He has two cybernetic eyes that, in a very disconcerting way, kind of swivel like a chameleon every once in a while, even when he's talking to somebody directly. And he was in cryo prison for a crime he committed a long time ago, a larceny of some sort. He was a thief. But when he came to from his cryo sleep, having served his sentence, any home he had left is gone. And so he has joined this mechanized cavalry squad.
Great.
Hoping to make it big, get some money somehow by hook or crook, and then retire to a pleasure moon, whatever the heck that means. Going with it.
Okay. All right, Jason, could you tell us about your character?
Yeah, today I'll be playing Neil Levin. He, him pronouns. He is a kind of interesting to see how this is going to play out, because he's a former police. I'm saying heavy police. So I'm envisioning there's like some sort of a police squad that is mechanized, and he's been a part of that in the past. But he was disgraced at some point, that maybe there was some sort of a massacre or a shooting or something of that nature, something that's not that we don't talk about. And so he just tries to lay low. He tries to avoid.
Great. Raji, could you tell us about your character?
Sure. I'm August Ward, hacker playbook. August used to be a student until his college was destroyed. Had some collateral damage in a battle. So since then, he's just been kind of helping others jailbreak programs and proxies, and excited to find out more about what he's going to do.
Cool. Robert?
Yeah, so I'm playing the empath. Character's name is Hel Marcosa. She, her pronouns. Hel used to be kind of like a street magician with her own, probably like some kind of YouTube series or something, like somewhere in between like people making like, oh, it's just a prank, bro, videos and like full-on Chris Angel mind freak. And then at some point she was kind of coerced into some human experimentation because someone along the lines thought that she was like for real a magician. And this brought out some sort of empathic powers.
Imagine being so good at stage magic, someone thinks you're a wizard and locks you up in a research lab.
It could happen. Look at our government.
And Darren, could you tell us about your character?
Yes, my character's name is Mars Andromeda. I went full anime from the start. Mars came from like a well-to-do family, and he was a university student, and I think generally he felt that his affluence, his family felt that their affluence would keep them away from this war, and Mars was able to be pretty like apathetic and aloof about everything because he could just leisurely take college classes. And then some conflict wherever he's from, mass destruction, and like killed his whole family. So huge tragedy. And then I think what happened was like somehow some connections with like wealthy families got Mars this like cushy position as a valet to an admiral. So there's not really any progress or prestige there, but it's like I think everyone was like, you'll be kept safe if you just like be chill. And then he decided he was not chill.
All right. So we've had a bit of a taste of everybody's characters. So now we got to do beliefs for everyone. These are first impressions that your characters have about each other. And they don't necessarily have to be true. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't. As pilots, you have to go on your gut instincts a lot of the times. And so you make these snap decisions about who someone is. So in the connections section of your character sheets, there is a 4-tick clock representing your connections. Put the first tick in for each of them. And then write in the pilot's names or just their call signs, whichever is easier for you to remember. And then write out a belief about that person. And if you're not sure, because sometimes it can be hard to come up with a belief, don't feel bad about using one of the example ones from the rule book. That's why they're there. And you don't have to use them like as written. You can of course modify them some. I have been told that the example beliefs for the technician playbook are rather mean. So just put your first impressions of each pilot in the connections. So, while y'all are doing that, I'm going to talk through the squad stuff. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. So, since this is a one-shot, we're going to be doing the extremely streamlined version of squad creation because there's a lot of long-term play stuff for squads that won't come up in a one-shot like this. For example, I just picked ahead of time that y'all are going to be playing the Mechanized Cavalry Squad playbook. There's 8 squad playbooks, and getting 5 people to agree on one of them can take a minute. So it's much easier to just say y'all are going to be Mechanized Cavalry. So the first step for squad creation is deciding who you want to work for. Which of the factions? The Jovengelian Empire, an autocracy. Exodus Republic Incorporated, a corporatocracy. The Democratic Federated Systems, a democracy. The Adamant Council of Nor, an oligarchy. Or the Church of the Celestial Myriad, a theocracy. I'm actually going to cut the Adamant Council of Nor since this mission is going to be targeting them. The last option is to be independent, which means that you don't owe allegiance to any of these factions, but likewise, they don't owe you anything as well. So, independent has been called hard mode in the past because you get less outside support for being independent. If we want to just keep things simple, if no one has any strong feelings about this, I would suggest that we go with the Democratic Federated Systems. But we don't have to. If anyone's like, yeah, I really want to work for the Jovengelian Empire, that sounds rad. So,
I think with 2 students and then like somebody who works in the law and somebody who's a criminal, it sounds like we work somewhere with a democracy, somewhere with a little more, I don't know, organized structure. So I'm good with one of the democratic options.
yeah, all right. So we'll go with the DFS then as your patron. Am I putting this in the right character sheet? Let me double check. Yes. Systems. All right. Then the next thing to do is set your relationship with all of the factions to 0 because they don't know or care who you are until you have done some missions for or against them. That's already done by default. Same with setting your trust with them to 0. Even your patron faction doesn't know or care who you are at this point in the game. Next is we would create a direct superior who is an NPC, and they're basically a tool for the GM to direct the squad when necessary, but there's nothing that requires them to like be obeyed, right? Like, it's absolutely fine even if you have a direct superior for y'all to do missions that aren't coming from your patron faction. Again, this is sort of one of those things that's more long-term play as you develop a relationship with them, and who your direct superior is will affect your relationship with the other squads that are in the game, because there will be one squad who dislikes you because of your association with your direct superior, and there will be a squad who likes you because of your association. But we're going to skip over that for the sake of the one shot. Next up is your patron faction's goal. This is another thing that we're going to skip over, but this is like your patron faction's long-term plans. If you're independent, you don't get one of these. And basically, for each mission you do that furthers this goal for your patron faction, it takes a 4-step clock. And when that clock fills, you get a unique ability that you can only get by completing one of these clocks. And these abilities are pretty unusual a lot of the time. They can range from things like trying to remember all of them. If you complete intelligence coup, you get 4D chess, which lets you rearrange the ticks on active clocks during a mission. Just as an example. So yeah, we'll skip over that for now. We've chosen the squad playbook. So 2 things that we aren't going to skip over that are choices is, what's the squad's reputation? What's a single word that describes y'all? Who has some thoughts on that?
I feel like we'd be kind of chaotic given our mixed bag of characters here.
Yeah? Any other?
I like chaotic. I could see that. I don't think, especially I don't think Mars would respect anyone who calls himself a leader. So, like as a group, I'm into it.
Good thing no one took the officer playbook.
Yeah, although that would have been good.
Okay. Any other thoughts about reputation, or are we good? Is everyone good with chaotic? All right. Chaotic is your reputation. Next up is your forward operating base. Where do y'all want to be based out of? Any thoughts? This could be like something fairly sensible, like an abandoned warehouse. It could be something more unusual, like an amusement park, or you could go like full villain and be based in a volcano if you're so inclined. The only thing for certain about it is that you will have testing facility squad upgrade, which frankly won't come into play during a one-shot, but it's something to keep in mind about the flavor of your forward operating base.
I kind of like something kind of dilapidated, like an old school or an old prison or an old, something like that. Something that's.
Are we in the ruins of that university that was destroyed?
Too
I like
real.
that.
I don't mind it. It was, I guess you're probably talking about my university. That would be kind of interesting for me.
We've taken over some sort of old testing facility at the university. Nobody thinks
I was thinking.
Look there.
I was thinking that, or like almost like thinking like a Batman. Like Bruce Wayne has like an old dilapidated mansion, and then we have our Bat Cave or whatever that is on the outskirts of it's just unnoticeable.
Okay, so a ruined college research facility, it sounded like. Okay, ruined college research facility. Okay. All right. So we've got a chaotic group and a ruined college research facility. Okay. Next up is we pick the squad ability. There's a lot of squad abilities, especially since you have access to the veteran abilities, which means picking from other playbooks right out from the get-go. My general suggestion for mechanized cavalry for a one-shot is to go with Reavers or to go with Fast and Furious. So Fast and Furious is each PC may add +1 action rating to maneuver, manipulate, or battle, up to a max rating of 3. And Reavers is when you push yourself while employing speed or aggression with a vehicle action, you only exhaust a quirk if your result is 4 or higher. So basically you get refunded your quirks if you still fail the roll. So, any preferences between those two, or does anyone want to take one of the other mechanized cavalry abilities?
like this. Fast and Furious and Reavers. Those are going to be my suggestions.
I kind of like Reavers, because I think it'll create more dramatic scenes, perhaps, but I'm good with either.
I like the idea that we're Reavers. That feeds into the chaotic and irregular nature that we've established.
Okay, so everyone good with Reavers then? Alright, Reavers it is. Okay. So, what's next? Next up is choosing 2 upgrades for the squad. They're all on the left here. What I would recommend is that you pick one of the quality you pick 2 of the quality upgrades. Those are the things that are going to be the most immediately relevant for a one-shot. There's a couple here that will give you bonuses to like engagement rolls, which might interest you, but they tend to be fairly narrow. Things like the Guerrilla Hideout, where you get a bonus to engagement rolls for assault plans. And if you have any questions about what any of these are, you can just hover over them and the tooltip will appear that'll show what they do. But yeah, my general suggestion is to get 2 of the quality upgrades.
I know it's only a one shot, but I want to throw quarters in because I just want the fantasy of having somewhere to sleep. You know?
That is true. Without the quarters upgrade, y'all aren't sleeping in the ruined college for whatever reason. Perhaps it's inhospitable, there's no plumbing working, or there's just no beds, or everything's like full of mold, perhaps. So you're finding your place to sleep elsewhere, even if it's just in the cockpit of your AV. But I will say that probably won't come up in a one-shot.
No, there's absolutely no benefit to it.
But hey,
I think quality programs might be interesting because we've established it's a university and it's a research base. I think it's at least thematic. I don't know how much will come up in a one-shot with the quality programs.
We'll be good for a hacker. So. I'm into that. We could also pair up with like barracks and elite rovers if we really want to beef up our cohort.
that's true. Y'all come with a cohort of rovers by default. Rovers are a small squad of NPCs that are available to you for you to command, and rovers in particular are like pilots and truckers and various sort of vehicular experts.
Both of the suggestions sound good to me. We get 2, right?
Yes, you get 2. So you could do programs and barracks if you were so inclined.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so barracks and quality programs. So you have good sleeping quarters, at least at least for your minions, and you've got some fancy programming stuff. Okay, and the last and most difficult thing to do with squad creation. What do you want? What are y'all known as? What's the squad's name?
I mean, what if we're just called Reavers? The Reavers.
That works. You could also model it after the like mascots of the college sports team, whatever that might be.
The Bobcat.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like some really stupid college sports teams names, like the Boilermakers or something like
Yeah.
along those
My
lines.
college was just the Redbirds. We weren't even Cardinals. We were just Redbirds.
That's not bad. It's evocative, Now I think we have to do a mascot.
I mean, you could say that the Reavers were the mascot and then just be like the such and such Reavers. Whatever the college's name was. Raji, you were the student. What was the name of your college?
Oh man. It was probably just the name of the area.
Okay, so I guess this might be a time to talk a little bit about the setting in that case. So we will be playing in the default Beam Saber setting, the Isian conflict. And so I am going to put us over on the national map and take us over to the play screen so that the stream can see the map. So this is the territory of Isia. It is the home of the last independently held space elevator located in Journey City. This planet may or may not be Earth. A long time ago, humanity abandoned its birthplace as it was falling apart due to climate change and other various ravages inflicted upon it by humans, and set off into space in the Exodus ships, and over time formed into 5 different factions, which we went over briefly in the patron factions section. And eventually the 5 of them came to war with one another over how humanity should be handled going forward. Some of them felt that democracy was the way to go because that had been what had pulled them through the difficulties of the long time of the Exodus, while others felt that an iron will was needed, united under a single empress, and thus groups like the Jovangelian Empire came to be. And they butted heads over these ideologies, unsurprisingly. So there's been the war has been going on for a long time, probably longer than any of your characters' grandparents, probably before even their grandparents. And at some point, within the last few decades, someone realized that one of the backwater planets that wasn't really in contention might be Earth, might be humanity's birthplace. It's certainly not the first planet that the people living on it have called Earth, but there's enough objective evidence, quote unquote, to show that there's a good chance that it is, in fact, Earth, the original, the OG Earth. And it is still a backwater, though. This place doesn't really mean a whole lot strategically or tactically, but whoever holds it has a sort of moral mandate, in a sense. And so the conflict, the war, was brought here. And quickly, the factions snapped up what territory they could, because they have near infinite resources when compared to the local inhabitants of this planet. And all that's left that is not completely held by one of the factions is the territory of Isia. It's the last one with a space elevator that is not held by one of the factions, as I mentioned previously. And it's the last one that has an area that is not held by one of the factions. In the very middle, where Journey City is, where the space elevator is, the inhabitants have managed to, well, not even the inhabitants, those who are in charge of the space elevator, its maintenance, its repair, and living inside of it, have turned it into a fortress and are using that as leverage against the factions. They are voluntarily shipping stuff up and down the space elevator for the factions in the hopes that they can use that and use the factions against each other to get a better ending for themselves, so to speak. And as you can see on the map, Izzy itself has been cut up into different regions controlled by each of the factions. So y'all are working for the DFS. So you're on the Eastern Peninsula, most likely, unless your base is in Irvan or Journey City. And that is where we come back to the question of, where's the college? Because it could have been right in Journey City. Journey City did get hit by the war when it initially came here. The initial rush to grab the space elevator brought the conflict to Journey City, and in fact destroyed the entire southern district of the city, which is now known as the Broken Bank. And so there's a number of places where your FOB could be located. So, but I think it can be narrowed down to, do you want to be the Journey City Reavers, the Irvin Reavers, the Taijil Reavers, or the Point View Reavers? So Raji, where was that college located?
I am thinking Journey City. I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay. So, I forgot. I'm not so great at Roll20 sometimes. I forgot to bring y'all over to the national map. My apologies. So, we'll stick on the city map anyways, because that's the map for Journey City. So, the Broken Bank is the section that is on the south side of the river, and there's a good chance that is where the college was. It doesn't have to be, though, if y'all want to be in some other part of the city. So, but that's not going to be necessarily too relevant to what we're doing here today. But now we know that you're the Journey City Reavers. That's what really matters here. Okay. So that's your squad done. You're the Journey City Reavers, a mechanized cavalry squad with high-quality programs, a barracks, a testing facility, and a squad of rovers accompanying you. And you've got the Reaver's ability. So, now let's go back to your beliefs. Is anyone still working on their beliefs for the other pilots? Or rather, maybe I should ask, has anyone finished?
I have some questions.
You have some questions? What are your questions,
Yeah.
Darren?
Firstly, for Pell, is Pell like well in control of her empathic abilities, or is she like impulsive?
I think definitely not fully in control. Like I think she's still in that stage where like she's got one thing like well under control, but then she's got like all these little side effects that she's still not sure of.
Perfect. Got it. And then for Neil, is Neil still trying to be like sort of like archetypically copy, like he's into like serve and protect sort of attitudes?
Yes, and he probably gets upset about when we veer into criminality in any way. But his primary motivation is to like, he just kind of keeps his head down and, you know, goes with it.
Nice. Perfect. And then For August, do you think August and Mars went to the same college? Should we relate ourselves like that?
I'm fine with that. What I had written for you was, I bet their school isn't as good as mine.
Alright, that's better.
But I can also change it.
That could also be. I don't know what other people's post-secondary experiences were like, but the university I went to had like internal divisions amongst its administration. So like I was part of Victoria College at the University of Toronto, but there's also like Woodsworth College and St. Mike's College and the New College. So
Yeah, that would be
I like
good.
that even more.
Yeah, because I definitely wasn't in the same program as you. That's good. So some rivalry stuff.
Is it maybe that my building like got destroyed, or like my area of campus got destroyed, but yours didn't?
Oh yeah, we could do that. Maybe it's the campus was pretty spread out, and the colleges were more like geographically distinct even. Could do that. Maybe my parents or my family was visiting your college for some reason. Whole bad tragedy.
is this like a humanities versus STEM rivalry?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm good. I think I got it.
Okay, so Darren, why don't you read us your beliefs for everyone then?
I should have known better. I knew I was volunteering. Okay, well then in that case, I will talk through August just because I haven't like written it down, but I know what it is. So for Malcolm, Mars believes that Malcolm is so uncouth, and I have got to teach him some etiquette. Coming out of that cryo prison, I can't believe it. For Neil, Mars thinks that I can't rely on him, and I've got to protect myself. And I think that very much stems from the trauma of losing his family. So, sorry, I don't trust cops. And then for August, it's something like, I think it's going to be something like, oh, I can out-argue August on anything. Like, even if it's AI or app related. Just because I don't think August has the skills for discourse, which probably isn't true at all. And then Pell, I believe that she could be useful if she learned some control.
Okay. All right. Gold, it seemed like you had your beliefs done. Is that correct?
Yes. So for Mars, or Mirror, Mars thinks they are better than me, and it's true. I think we matched up very well there. For August, I believe Phantom is wasting their talents here. I would happily break off with Phantom and go do another heist somewhere. For Pell, this kid is going to get us all killed. And then for Neil, Bruiser is someone I can count on when the metal meets blood.
All right. Bruiser, are your connections ready?
Yes. Okay. So it's kind of funny, Gold, because I see you, and I say, he's a former con. His checkered past cannot be forgiven. So that's interesting. Phantom, they rely too much on programs and hacking. Pell, I don't trust her abilities. I find them questionable and risky. And for Mirror, he shows promise. I will support his endeavors.
Okay. Phantom, what are your beliefs?
For Pell, I have her impact abilities are a con, and I'm impressed. For Mars, I have Mars is lucky. The semester got cut short, or else they would have flunked out. For Malcolm, I don't think I trust him, but there's probably something I can learn from him. For Neil, I trust Neil even less than Malcolm. Seems like a narc.
Okay. And Vela.
Yeah, so I've got, for Mirror, I can feel they're a genuine person, and I implicitly trust them. For Phantom, I think they'll let us all down given too much responsibility. Gold, I can take advantage of their pain. And Bruiser, I can fix the reason they're hurt.
All right. So, we've got our pilots. We've got our beliefs. It's time to get into the mission. All right. So, the mission that you've been assigned, the briefing is that the Hatchet Men, Nourish Info Sex Squad, has been put in charge of transporting a secretive package over land routes. You need to capture it and don't let it fall into enemy hands. You've been told that there's going to be a light escort, 2 light AVs, and because the Nourish military is relying on secrecy to protect the package rather than force. The package is in a wheeled APC. No idea what the package is. Okay. So that is the mission. That's the briefing. Does anyone want to gather any information? And how might you do that? You each get one of these.
I feel like that's like my thing. I probably do that a lot.
All right. Well, what are you looking for, and how are you doing it?
If we know that the package contents are more secure because it's a secret, then I will probably try to get on the net and look for any leaks or anything like that.
Leaks about what?
Just the contents of the package.
Okay. All right. Give me. What are you gonna roll for that? I have a guess, but I don't want to assume.
Is interface acceptable?
Absolutely. So this will be a fortune roll, which means that there's no possible consequences, and there's no effect level. It's just a matter of how good of a roll you get will determine how the quality of the information you receive. So roll your interface and take the highest die. That is a 4. All right, so that's standard information. Okay. So what do you learn about the package? I don't think you're able to actually crack what the package itself is. What you're able to find out, though, is that it's fragile. It's the APC. Okay, here's what you find out. You find out that the APC is going to be like temperature controlled and like atmospherically controlled. It's going to be a pressurized environment inside of the APC. so that like whatever's inside can't leak out, or whatever's outside can't leak in terms of like gases, or even if it like ends up in the river, the APC will still be able to like drive along the river bottom. It's apparently amphibious, or I don't know if amphibious is quite the right word, because would it float? Yeah, I think the APC is probably what do you call it? Designed to be buoyant, since it's sealed, so it can cross, do a simple river crossing. So yeah, it's a controlled environment inside of the cargo space of the APC. What else might you find out with standard info? I think that's it. That the package is fragile, and that the cargo space is a controlled environment. Who else wants to try and learn something?
Yeah, I think Hell wants to try to like find information about the route we're taking, see if there's any like really obvious places where we can be ambushed or that would otherwise cause trouble.
Oh, to be clear, you're not transporting the package. You're trying to intercept it.
Oh, well then I guess taking that the other way, of good places for us to intercept the package.
Yeah, so what do you want to roll for that?
I'm thinking survey, because I have Farsight, so when I gather information in survey, I take +1 die, and the information can be from a time or place that I'm not present.
Ooh. Alright, using them psychic powers to your advantage. Okay. So, make that survey roll. That's another 5. Okay, so that's also standard information. So what you find out is, I think you get a vision of some people leaning over a map spread out over a crate. They're presumably like the drivers of the convoy and their commanding officer as they trace through a route through the broken bank. Their plan is to go through some of the winding roadways through the broken bank, avoiding Ambush Row, which is the main roadway that goes right through the broken bank and across one of the intact bridges that crosses the river. It's the fastest way through the broken bank. It's also extremely obvious and has its name for a reason. So they're going to sort of, I'll just draw on the map. Oh, that's a text box. Hard to draw with one of those. And then give me blue. There we go. Okay. So this is roughly the route that they're taking. They are essentially going to cut west through the broken bank into Kingstown across the river, and then quickly get out of that area and into the vicinity of the tower. Kingstown is a very poor area of Journey City. It was sort of like working class and lower class neighborhood before the war came. And oh, did I put that on the GM layer? Yeah, I probably did. My apologies. There we go. So yeah, the Kingstown is basically where a lot of the refugees that came to Journey City ended up, and where a lot of people who survived the destruction of the broken bank and didn't have anywhere else to go ended up. It's essentially like a community that looks after itself and looks after each other, because Journey City essentially does not have a municipal government at this time. That fell apart a while ago. So they're making do as best they can since they don't have the funding, since they don't have a lot of funding and material support within the community, and they don't have the external support of any of the off-world groups.
I think Gold wants to do some in-person research at wherever the package is going to begin at, like whatever freight yard or wherever it is, and just sort of get a feeling for what kind of escort the APC is going to have.
Okay.
If we're going to ambush this thing, we need to know what we need to bring.
Okay.
That is exactly my action. Can I lend a helping die for these, or help in any way for these preparatory actions?
Yeah. So the way that assisting works in Beam Saber is that you spend stress equal to the number of connections you have with the pilot you're assisting. Because the better you know them, the more emotionally stressful it is to help them when they're in need, but the harder you push yourself to do so. So you provide extra benefits when you have a stronger connection with someone. So Bruiser, mark 1 stress as the cop and the criminal go together to investigate what's going on. So I am going to quickly remember this time to bring y'all over to the other map. So we can see this is the sort of immediate Journey City area, and the convoy will be leaving from the Might municipality and then taking the road to Journey City. You've got that from Vela's recon. Okay. So, Gold, I guess you are going to give us the roll with an extra die since
I'm thinking prowl. Does that make sense for this?
Are the two of you sneaking in and like looking around, or are you trying to talk to people, or how are you doing this? You can absolutely do prowl if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm thinking prowl. I think maybe Bruiser wanted to do like a sort of a talking, get to know a guard thing, and I'm like, you're not good at that. No, we're not gonna do that.
Okay.
And
so actually,
and so I snuck around and sort of, I'm like on some building that's nearby, and we're like through like crazy, cyberpunk binoculars looking down at the yard.
Okay, so what I'm actually going to say is I think that since y'all are getting this close to Might, which is well into Nourish territory, this isn't going to be a fortune roll. This is going to be a risky action. It'll be risky standard. And Bruiser, how are you assisting with this plan? Are you like providing a distraction, or like having a conversation with the people like apparently you were planning to?
Yeah, I think that we're both. I think that it's just we're both kind of together, and so we're getting different angles of view. Maybe we're observing from different points, and communicating over our comms. And like, hey, I see something coming over towards you. Take a look at that. What is that?
Yeah. All right. Okay, so since you are assisting and this isn't a fortune roll, this is an action roll, we actually have to decide, do you want to give +1 die to Gold? Do you want to give improved effect, or do you want to give improved position?
Let's metagame a little bit. What's your rating in Prowl, Gold?
It's 2.
2? Okay. Let's do improved position.
Okay.
Let's make it.
So it'll be controlled standard then. All right, give us that roll, Gold. Is that the 5?
Cinco. That's 5.
Okay, so that is success with a consequence. I just realized I forgot to open the reference sheets that I should have, because they have the easily viewable consequences. So just give me a second. All right. So what's going to happen? Actually, I already know what the consequence is. But with controlled consequence on a 4 to 5, basically you get to hear, because you're in a controlled position, you get to hear what the consequence is and then decide if you want to take it and your success, or if you want to deny both. Okay, so you can either have nothing happen, you don't get any new information, but also nothing bad happens to you, or you get that information you want and something happens. So the consequence is going to be that someone notices the two of you sniffing around, and that'll give you a penalty to your engagement roll, because they'll know something is up, that they've been under observation when they go out on the convoy.
I'll throw that one to you, Bruiser.
Oh, jeez. Let's take it.
All right.
They might not have any surprises, but we won't have any surprises either.
Okay, so you get a good look over the escort and the APC while they're being worked on prior to the convoy heading out. And the APC it's almost certainly not going to be a threat to your AVs if you bring them. It's got armor, it's got wheels. I'm going to take us back to the city screen because I have a token prepared for it. Oh. Here we go. So it's a wheeled APC, sort of with a heavily sloped front and kind of a boxy appearance. The one that the Nourish have would actually have more rounded edges, and it does have a big machine gun on it, but it's a big machine gun compared to people, not compared to AVs. So that machine gun will be a threat if you're out of your vehicles, but it's not going to be a threat to you if you're in it. Okay, or at least not a serious threat. The APC is small enough that a vehicle could probably drag it, but it's not small enough that you could just pick it up like a football and go. And what else you learn? Oh, right. So you also get a look at the AVs that are going to be accompanying the APC, which are these sort of the upper body, the torso and arms of these AVs are sort of humanoid in shape, but the lower body is 4 wheels on a heavy suspension system. They're very sort of off-road and on-road capable machines. They don't really seem to walk per se. They just sort of drive. They might have some limited walking ability, and they've got a machine gun on them and a small missile pod. But they're also of a fairly light design. So that is what you're going to be going up against. A pair of these wheeled AVs and that APC that the package is going to be inside of. But before you can get anything else, you realize that there's a patrol of Nourish military closing in on you, and the two of you have to skedaddle. Okay. Mirror, I think you are the only one who hasn't done any intel gathering at this time. Is there anything you want to try and learn?
Yes. I was thinking of going schmoozing with my good associate Camden, the naive diplomat, to try and find out who is like running this operation for the Norish. I just want a person.
Okay.
So
Alright.
I'm rolling with consort, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
A 4.
That's a 4. Okay, so that's standard information. So, let's see. Okay, so you find out through your diplomatic contacts that well, you already knew that the hatchet men were the squad that were going to be in charge of moving the convoy. And let me just read out the description of the hatchet men for y'all. That's the hatchet men. A squad tasked with maintaining the infrastructure of Izia, notably the infotech, goal to eradicate rogue apps, proxies, and AI. They're a tier 1 squad, so y'all start at tier 0, so they're a bit tougher than y'all, or not tougher. They have a bit slightly better gear than y'all have access to. And you find out that the person in charge of this mission is one Squire Thrumming Lucky Corpse Ali. He's in his early 40s. He's got like a salt and pepper military haircut. He's got a like lanky build and coppery skin. He's a very the gossip is that he's a very like focused military person. Probably will try and stay on task and ensure his objective is met. He's also probably a bit of a maybe feels a bit underappreciated because he's still only a squire in his early 40s.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that's what you get about him. Okay. Before we move on to engagement, does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Alright, so with planning the mission, so your employer is the 99th Intelligence Corps for the Democratic Federated Systems. Your target is the Hatchet Men of the Adamant Council of Nor. Your objective is to retrieve the package. Your secondary objective is to ensure the package is undamaged. You have rules of engagement. These are things that your employer does not want you to do during the mission. Doing that will lower your trust with your employer at the end. So your rules of engagement are no threatening or employing force against civilians, and no firing upon or presenting as a clearly marked medical transport or facility. So I hope none of you have an ambulance for your vehicle. So then you got to pick our tactic for the mission. This is sort of the general overview of how you want to tackle this task. Because in Beam Saber, you do not like... You don't get into the nitty-gritty of every little plan. The way the game is designed is that we come up with a general detail, and then if there are things you want to have had planned beforehand, we use flashbacks for those, which will cost you 0 to 2 stress to do. And make sure that your pilots are competent individuals who have skills and know to prepare for things that you as players wouldn't necessarily know to do. So, the possible options for tactic are assault, which is open violence against the target. Deception is luring, tricking, and manipulating the target. Scientific is engaging with technological power. Social is when the squad negotiates with, bargains with, and persuades the target. Stealth is for taking action undetected. And transport is carrying cargo and people through danger. Which of those do y'all want to engage in?
Personally, deception seems kind of interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to employ our rovers as, like, since we know the make and model, would we want to do like what's it, the with the cups and the ball, the
Shell game?
shell game? Sort of like try and buy something similar and shuffle them around.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Like our deception detail. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, you know, some of us are security measures in case that doesn't work out so well, which it invariably will not.
Yeah, I was thinking about like luring them to deliver the package to the wrong place.
I like that.
Okay. So it sounds like you want to go with deception, and the method of deception is to have your rovers come in either AVs or APCs that are like of a similar style to the ones that the convoy is actually going to be using, and just trying to cause a whole lot of confusion. Am I understanding that correctly?
I'm into it.
And then I think we have to like somehow like convince the actual APC that we want. We'll have to like hack into it. Maybe this is getting too much into the planning. Like, I know we're not supposed to plan too much, but like try and direct it to go into the wrong spot. Like, hey, this, you know, there's other APCs now. We have to change our plans. Go to, you know, Site C or whatever, and tell them to go in the wrong spot.
Or that allows us to get close enough to hack and, you know,
Right.
mess with their directional computers or whatever. Something like
We
that.
just need the method of entry. So I think it's enough
Yeah.
to say we have the shell game, and then in the mission we can flashback or whatever and figure
Yeah.
out if we're gonna lead them away or however we resolve it.
Yep.
So do we want to do it at the bridge?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, is that we would set up at the bridge, somehow, you know, trick them at the bridge as they're going through Kingstown.
Okay. Well, we don't need that detail just yet, because we've got your method of deception is this shell game using your rovers. Okay, so what pilot loadout are each of you going to be bringing? Light loadout, it will let you more easily blend in with people and be more inconspicuous and move faster when necessary, but it limits you to only 3 pilot load. A medium load will make you look like you're ready for trouble, and will give you 5 load. And a heavy load, you'll look like you're up to some bad shit, and it'll give you a load of 6.
I'm taking a light load because I care about style over substance.
I'll also do light.
Okay. So as you choose this, make sure to mark it on your character sheets.
And this is pilot load, not our vehicle load? Okay.
Yes, your vehicle load will have been chosen during your vehicle's creation. And we'll introduce your vehicles as they appear on screen.
I'm going to go with... There's so many fun things. I want all of the things, but I can only take so many of the things. I'm going to go with light.
Okay, 3 lights so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna go medium.
All right, Bruiser.
I am also going medium.
Okay, 2 mediums, 3 lights. All right. So, now it is time for the engagement roll. You start off with 1 die for plain old luck. Is the mission bold, y'all?
I
Yeah.
think so.
We're trying to 3-card Monty them? Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. Is the mission especially complex?
Yes.
Maybe unnecessarily so. But yeah.
Okay, so that takes away 1 die. Does the mission exploit the target's vulnerabilities?
That might be a stretch.
Yeah, sounds like that's maybe a no. Is the mission's tactic ineffective against the target? No. No, there's no evidence of that, and I don't have anything up my sleeve in that regard. Does the squad receive external support for the mission? Your rovers do not count, to be clear.
Oh, shucks.
They are part of your squad.
Does anybody
Well,
have a friend we can call in?
Yeah. Is there something that maybe... shoot. I'm trying to remember call signs here. The mirror set up with that meeting? Some external assistance there?
I was trying to be like very like low key
Oh,
with my
okay.
diplomat. I didn't want
maybe
to tip
not
our
that.
hands politically.
Okay, that sounds like a no. Is anyone interfering with the mission other than the target? Yes. 0 dice. Are there any other factors that affect the mission? Take +1 die for positive ones and -1 die for negative ones.
There's got to be a positive one somewhere.
Well, there's already another -1 because Bruiser and Gold got caught. So you're at -1 dice right now. You can't roll lower than 0, but you're going to need at least 2 positives to bump up to even a single die.
I know that the leader of the Hatchet Men has an inferiority complex. I'm going to try to leverage that.
Hmm.
We
Okay.
have pretty specific schematics on the APC, right? We've got, something that matches them. Maybe.
Yeah, okay. I think that the 2 of those, you can bump that up to you got a 1 die engagement roll. All right. So, who wants to roll the engagement roll? This will determine whether you'll start in a desperate, risky, or controlled position.
I'll do it.
All
I'll
right.
brave it.
Give us that 1 die. That's a 1.
All that work to get that +1, it didn't matter.
Okay. How does this turn desperate? So y'all are planning the shell game at the which end of the bridge were you planning it on? The southern end or the northern end of the bridge?
Maybe one joins on the southern end and another joins on the northern end. Why not?
Well, they're going south to north, right? Is that
Yes, yes.
right? Okay, so probably south. We'll just start at the beginning,
Southwest.
We're confident.
Okay. All right. So y'all are set up at the south end of this bridge, waiting around. And I think it takes you a while to note, like, y'all are sort of like, you don't have like a checkpoint set up or something, right? Y'all are like hidden amongst the buildings, I would assume. We don't need to get into specifics about where everyone is. That's not necessary for this game. So y'all are hidden amongst the buildings, waiting for the convoy to come, and you don't notice it at first, which is that there are a bunch of proxies and apps starting to gather around you. So what these are in the augmented reality of Beam Saber, there are sort of 3 types of digital entities. There are proxies, apps, and AI. Proxies are something that most people have. In fact, each of you probably has a proxy of your own unless you've discarded it for some reason. These are digital personal assistants that will filter your emails, reply to them in like simple manners, handle your calendars, handle your calls. They are a shallow but broad set of abilities. The default avatar for them is just like a copy of the person of the owner when the proxy was created, and so that's what gets left behind when the owner of a proxy dies or leaves it behind in some way, and no one shuts down the proxy. So essentially, the broken bank, the area that you're in, which was absolutely trashed by the initial stages of the war being brought to Journey City, there's a lot of rampant proxies that have been left unattended for a couple years at this point because their owners have fled or died or whatever, are no longer in command of them. Now, proxies aren't too threatening. They're basically just ghosts wandering around this place, which means, they might be surprising, they might block your vision, they might get into your computer systems, but they have a fairly shallow skill set, as I said. Apps, on the other hand, are a bit more of an issue. Apps have a narrow skill set and a narrow purpose, but they have a lot of deep ability in that skill set. And so they tend to have like very specific purposes. Like, for instance, you might have one that's designed to try and sell people like laser eye repair, right? And so when it's working properly and it's just trying to sell people stuff, that's fine. But when it's gone rampant, like the ones in the broken bank, then they start to get creative about trying to get people to buy their product. And if you give them control of certain things, like, the laser eye device, then they might get a little aggressive in creating a need for their product instead of addressing an existing one. So, a bunch of apps and proxies. And it can be difficult at first glance to tell the two apart because a lot of apps look like people and a lot of proxies don't look like people when the creator has decided, oh, I want my avatar to be, I don't know, my persona, for example. And so there's a whole lot of these that you realize have gathered around your vehicles. And the convoy is approaching. You find out that. So the convoy is heading for the bridge. Y'all are in hiding. These proxies and apps are surrounding you, whether you're in your vehicle or not. And your rovers are on call nearby, wherever that may be. So, what do you all do? Who has something they want to do as the convoy is about to come to your ambush point, or your shell game point?
Hey, I think some stoopies. Some of these proxies around here creep you out.
Yeah, always. Let me try to do something about it, I guess.
That's great.
I feel like I want to set up some kind of decoy for them. I know I'm really into decoys today. But maybe I set up like another app or proxy that I attach a bunch of tags to that attract these apps and proxies away from us.
Yeah. All right. So, do you have any gear that you want to declare that might help you with that?
Ooh, good question. Oh, maybe I can use the recursive data projector. Broadcast overwhelming amounts of data and apps and AIs avoid. So yeah, actually maybe I'll kind of like reconfigure my plans so that I'm using that to kind of create a barrier around us and get all these apps and proxies to retreat away.
All right. I think that'll give you great effect, but you are still in a desperate position. What are you planning on rolling for this?
I would like to roll interface.
I had a feeling. Okay, so...
I'd also like to push myself.
Okay. Are you going to take an extra die? Well, you can't get better effect because you're already at great thanks to your recursive data projector. So, that's an extra die. Let's see. Do you want collateral die? A collateral die is a bonus die for your rolls, but it also guarantees a consequence. You get to know beforehand what the consequence is.
I'm also willing to help. I have a funny idea.
That would also work.
I want to hear the idea.
My crazy idea is that at some point you downloaded or like made hollow copies of my boring old man stories, and so this data font is just basically lots of copies of my boring old man stories from before the war, or a time like way earlier. It's just boring war stories that we're sending out to all of these proxies to take up their time, and it sort of just feeds back on their thing. So you just have copies of my old stories.
I like it.
Okay.
I take one stress on that, right?
Yep, you take one stress.
And I'll use that to improve position.
Okay.
Right, I can do that?
Yep,
Yeah.
you can. So that'll be risky great then. With 3 dice since you're posting yourself.
Okay. And I think in that case, I will not take a collateral die.
Fair. That's a 3, unfortunately. Okay. So, risky position. Let's see. Okay. I know what the position. I know what's going to be the consequence. So the consequence is that basically y'all are like waiting for Phantom to activate this recursive data projector, so these apps and proxies get out of your business and aren't going to interfere when the trap gets sprung. And unfortunately, he can't get the recursive data projector set up in time. And so what happens is that your rovers, they follow through with the plan. They go in for the shell game. Unfortunately, the four of you aren't there to like set up the interference as they were expecting, and the Nourish are already expecting some kind of like weird bullshit to happen because they saw Bruiser and Gold earlier. So a copy of their convoy comes out of nowhere, and immediately they light up your rovers. So your rovers are going to take 2 points of damage, putting them from weak to impaired. So they are like in bad shape. They immediately pull back and take cover amongst the like buildings. The convoy did slow down as it engaged them, so you haven't lost the opportunity, but I think the shell game is a bust at this point, unless you have, unless someone has a flashback to like have another set of shells prepared, so to speak, because the initial volley of them has run afoul of common sense. So yeah, that's the consequence, and also because you got a 3, you're not able to get that recursive data projector up. I'm not saying you can't try again, because you still have it, but you haven't activated it yet, so the apps and proxies are still gathered around you. And so, who else has something that they want to try and do?
Are we still trying to like trick them into delivering this somewhere else? Is that still the plan?
It was the plan.
I think Bruiser is like, he's like cursing, and he's like getting into the cockpit of his Avi, and he's like, "This is ridiculous. I knew this stupid plan wasn't gonna work." And his Avi is kind of like this really like industrial looking, like very blocky, very like kind of like the Matrix or something, like where they've got those like really mechanical, not super anime-ish mechs. And he's getting into it, and he's like swinging his arms around to try to disperse these proxies. And he's gonna try to like charge in.
Just rush the convoy?
Yeah.
Okay, are you like trying to attack one of the wheelies, or what are you trying to do? Grab the...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's trying to attack one of the wheelies. And I don't know, like fictionally, in terms of where we're positioned, how explicit you want me to get in that. Like if I have to get there first versus just attacking kind of thing.
Oh yeah, you can just go right into the attack. They are distracted by your rovers at the least, and like at least for the moment. And you could have set up like your AV fairly close to the path, because you knew like the route they were taking, right? Mm-hmm. Y'all can be set up wherever you want to be.
Okay. Then in that case, I think he like comes out from behind a building or something, like sideways. You know that shot?
Yeah. Slides around,
and he's got like this big machine gun type thing with like a chain of bullets hanging out of it, and he's like starting to shoot at them.
Okay, so you're declaring a machine gun for your AV then?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And why don't you tell us a bit more about your vehicle while we're here?
Yeah, so it's like this, it's like a general purpose, mass produced, kind of very industrial, like throwaway kind of battle obby. But people have used these for, loading crates. They've used them industrially. It's just a very run-of-the-mill, easy to obtain type of thing. But mine has armor plating, extra armor plating grafted onto it. It's not like the most graceful thing, but I've got, a machine gun and I'm loading.
Okay, what quirks does it have?
Yeah, so my quirks are a lot related to what I just kind of described. So it's mass produced, so that can be good and bad. It can be mass produced junk in some cases. It's rigid and mechanical. It has grafted armor plating, and it's got this generic multi-use design, so it's not necessarily specialized for this purpose.
All right.
Can I do a setup action for you, Bruiser?
A setup action? Okay.
Yeah. So what I was thinking, I'm very much into moving past this plan also. So I think seeing Bruiser starting to climb into their mech, I will as well. But I want to use this mobility suite that I have installed and shoot up into the air and then use my hollow projector to make copies of our rovers and to have them keep going out for that confusion for Bruiser to come around.
Okay.
And do Bruiser's thing.
So the difference between a setup action and an assist is a setup action is you essentially change the nature of the situation in a permanent kind of way, and then anyone who takes advantage of that in the future gets improved effect or position. For instance, you might do a setup action by destroying some of the tires on the APC, just slow it down, right? I think this is probably an assist though, because it's using a hollow projector is very fleeting. Even if you remain in place, continuing to do that, someone could disrupt you, and if you are disrupted, that doesn't that means that the changes you've made to the battlefield are no longer maintained, right?
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Well, that's it.
Okay, so when you assist, spend the 1 XP. And do you want to improve this? What are you planning on rolling, Bruiser?
Well, just the nature of how I described it. I guess I was gonna go with. I'm a little unclear on some of these. So, do you think that would? I'm hoping for more bombard, I guess. Although really, I should be pushing for battle. This doesn't seem like it's close quarters combat, though.
Oh, it absolutely can be.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, if you read the description for battle, when you battle, you engage in vehicular close quarters combat. You might lash out with your scoop arm. You might fire your Gatling gun in a dogfight. You could perform a pit maneuver, but maneuver might be better.
Okay, perfect. Yes, then I am going with battle.
Yeah, bombard is long range fire.
Gotcha. Okay. So can you help walk me through rolling for this then?
Yeah.
So,
okay, so you'll have 2 dice because you have battle. And this will be desperate because of the engagement roll. It'll be standard effect, unless you have any gear that would improve the effect for your vehicle. But you're just using a normal machine gun because you don't have a fine one as a soldier. You do have fine melee weapons if you want to, like, change your description of the action to get improved effect. Below where your allies are, it has your playbook specific vehicle gear.
Sorry, I'm trying to navigate the
Mm-hmm.
character sheet here.
Yeah.
So below where allies are. Oh, okay, I see. Oh, okay. So I can select from that
Yeah.
list as well.
Yeah.
Okay, then I will definitely do that. I've got like, so we'll say I've got that machine gun strapped to me, just like my back, the back of my, or no, the side of my, like leg or something. And then, but I've come out and I've got these big, like blades. It's just like a big hunk of metal.
It's like a big mech-sized cleaver kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it?
And yeah.
Is it like a manufactured sort of thing, or is it like ad hoc?
It's definitely ad hoc. It's something that I machined or we machined or something that we found at the university.
Okay. So you've got your big mecha cleaver. So mark that on your character sheet in your gear.
Cool.
And all right, Mirror, you are jetting up into the air and you're deploying. Sorry, that'll be desperate great because you've got the fine melee weapon.
Cool.
And Mirror, why don't you describe your vehicle as you come onto the scene?
Yes, so it's a pretty classical humanoid mech, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. It's got like matte coloring. I think it's like a dark navy, maybe. And these like 2 like bright eyes. The like most notable feature is it's like kind of swathed in different fabrics. And I think they're like natural fabrics, so nothing synthetic, to kind of give it some prestige. But I think it has like something like a short cape, maybe something around its shoulders, a little like nice cowl going up around the little head unit, and then almost like fabric wrapped around its arms, almost like bandaging or something. That's pretty much it. And I think the mobility suit looks like you get that good anime shot where it's like light coming out of the back, like sort of light wings or something.
Cool. All right. And what's the load of your vehicle, Mirror?
Medium.
Okay.
Sorry.
And Bruiser, what's the load of your vehicle?
Medium.
Okay. All right. So, Mirror shoots up into the air and starts deploying hollow copies of your rovers to cause further confusion. Are you giving improved position or improved dice to Bruiser? Because he's already at max effect.
Yeah, we'll do improved dice. Get you that Dusty XP.
Okay. So, Bruiser, do you want to spend one of your quirks for an extra die to put you up at 4, or are you good with 3 dice for battle?
Spend one of my quirks. So where can I find that on the sheet?
Your quirks are at the very bottom of the character sheets.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So I am gonna spend rigid and mechanical, and narratively, that means like it's just kind of like this brutal, like very robotic attacks, like these very like just super almost inhuman and machine like, and that's how I'm going at this person.
Okay. All right, so that'll be 4 dice on Desperate Great. So mark 1 XP in Expertise for taking a desperate action.
Okay.
And do you know how to do the rolls in Roll20?
Yes.
Okay. A 5. Okay, so that is success with a consequence. All right, so I will. There we go. So the wheelies are a 6-step clock, and with great effect. Let's see. What are your desperate consequences? Okay. Yeah, alright. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. So the first consequence is that the wheelie you're attacking sees you coming. It notices you. I think maybe one of the hollow what do you call it? One of the hollow decoys, like, moves their line of sight such that they catch you out of the corner of their eye, and so they turn to fire at you. And while they also like back up on, like, shift their vehicle into reverse and slam on that gas pedal. But it does not mean you do not catch them. It just means you don't hit them as bad as you could have. So I'm reducing your effect. So you still get standard effect. You still take, I think you take off one of the arms of this wheelie. Unfortunately, it also has an anti-AV machine gun that you're right up close to now. And so it holds down on the trigger and unloads a burst of fire into your vehicle. So take level 2 damage, punctured, which will be on the left side of your character sheet. Unless you want to resist that, which you can do by declaring armor, which is 2 load, or by resisting, which is 4 quirks minus the number, minus your expertise rating, to a minimum of 1.
I'm gonna, 4 quirks minus my expertise rating.
That'll be 2 quirks for you. If you spend all your quirks, then your vehicle is, then a couple of things happen, but generally speaking, your vehicle, but not the pilot, is removed from the mission.
Okay. Sorry about that cough, by the way. Tried to mute. Okay. I am gonna declare armor in that case.
Okay.
Would I declare that on my vehicle gear loadout?
Yep. Spend the 2 load, and then there will be a spot for armor uses up by your damage, and so you can just mark off one of those, showing that you've spent your armor for the mission. It'll refresh on the next mission. Obviously not too important for a one-shot. Okay, so yeah, this thing unloads into you point blank after you chop off its arm with your giant, like, sheet metal cleaver, and your AV rings like a bell with you inside of it. But the armor protects your vehicle from any serious damage, and also protects you from the same. And so you're able to break back from it as the 2 wheelies begin to reorient on you. And I think we will take a short break, and we will come back to what Gold and Vela are up to. Alright, so everyone, we'll be back in a couple minutes.